Hey everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, I'm excited to have back with me my partner in crime, Vincent LaRussa. On this episode, we're going to take a look back at Bruce Kulick's career, of course with a heavy focus on Kiss. We'll talk all about the different guitars, the albums, the videos, concerts, and much more. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. Now, without further ado, let's jump in and get started with our conversation on the great Bruce Kulick. Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, I'm super excited to have back with me, after I think it's almost 3 months right now, my partner in crime, Mr. Vincent LaRussa.
Hey buddy.
How you doing, buddy?
3 months.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, right. I think the last time we did this was the solo albums.
You know, you spoiled me a bit. You know, we were doing one for the solo albums. I think one every week at that point, at least.
At least, yeah.
And then we did a wrap up show, and I was like, and I know I've been chewing in your ear. I was like, you know, when's the next one? What do you have planned? And you know, you've been doing a lot of great shows with, Steve Whiteman and a couple other people that you did. But so I totally understand where I fall on that list. I may be a partner in crime. But I didn't perform on the Kiss song. But
No,
anyways,
you didn't.
go ahead.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
But this I felt was a good opportunity to get back together. The time we're filming this and recording this, I think it's tomorrow, is Mr. Bruce Kulick's birthday, turning 67. So first, I'll start off by saying, happy birthday to Bruce Kulick, right? So
Happy birthday to Bruce. Yes.
yeah, and when I looked it up, I'm like, damn, he's 67 and he's in better shape than me and he looks younger than me and I'm like 15, 20 years younger than him. So I don't know what to make of that. So.
You know what also is always confusing with that, because isn't Paul Stanley 69 now?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
And you always think that he's like so much younger than those guys. You know, you never think, because even like when he was in the band, even though probably the band was in their 30s, right? And 84, about that.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just always like it was like the new kid, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's like he was like, you know, this younger guy, but I guess they were all about the same age. And you know, Bruce coming out of the 70s, you know, working with, and we might get to that.
Yeah. Go for it, my friend.
We don't plan these things, but
listen, in tribute to Bruce, I'll say if you say anything we don't want, we'll edit it out.
Edit it out, exactly. Those who don't know what that is, watch Kiss Exposed.
Edit her out. Anyway.
Edit her out. Yeah, so Bruce coming from the 70s, you know, working with Meatloaf and, I don't know, Blackjack, did that start in the 70s? Was that late 70s?
It might have been like 79 or so.
79.
Off the top of my head, I don't recall, but it was around that time, yeah. Yeah,
so, and doing various work on with Billy Squier, and who else did he record with? I know I bought a bunch of records. I was going out searching for records that Bruce played on.
Right. I think he toured with Meatloaf. I don't think he's on any of their albums, but he toured with them.
Him and his brother did it.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And then obviously he went on to Kiss, and that's where certainly you and I became very aware of him at that point. Although me not at first, and I'll get into that in a moment. But go ahead.
I think I'm gonna start launching into that, because I remember specifically getting one of the rock magazines at the time. It's probably Circus magazines, and reading about like Kiss's new guitar player, Mark St. I mean, this is all obviously pre-internet, you know, and it had this little blurb about Mark St. John and had about his playing, and you know, like he was a virtuoso or whatever the heck it said, and not even knowing, I was like, what happened to the other guy? Like, what happened to Vincent? Like, I had no idea. And then getting the Animalize record, and it might have been with the Kiss Animalize Live Uncensored when I watched that, thinking like, oh, who's this guy? You know, not knowing who. I honestly didn't know who Bruce Kulick was.
Right.
I knew who Bob Kulick was.
Of course.
You know, at first he was even confused. I'm like, did they No, okay,
Yeah.
okay. He's bald. That's a wig, or
That's
he's got like great hair. I don't know. You
right.
know?
Which one is it? Right. Mhm.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I mean, wore that tape out. It might have been your tape.
Could
It
have
might
been.
have been
It could have been.
because I remember you'd get like really excited. Like you brought Kiss Exposed over to my house. I think you brought that one over. And Sorry Kiss, I think I copied it somehow, you know. And
Jeans at your door.
yeah,
Jeans at your door
yeah.
right now.
Hold on. You know, I have a vault. We're good. So, so yeah, yeah. So that was the first time, you know, I came to know about Bruce, and that was pretty cool. Like just seeing, you know, this new guy playing with Kiss and kind of saying like, all right, how does this guy fit in? You know, and it was interesting because I remember hearing like the solo for like Cold Gin or whatever. It was like, yeah, he would do a little taste of it,
Right.
but kind of, and you know, this was like in the heart of like that whole 80s metal, Eddie Van Halen, everybody's trying to play tapping and doing all this stuff.
Absolutely.
But there's always something that like sounded like Bruce. Like Bruce, even though he was kind of keeping up with the times, I could always like hear Bruce. Like even if you played me a Kiss song and I didn't hear Paul's voice, or if I didn't hear Gene's voice,
You know it was
and
Bruce.
I knew it was Bruce. Like he had a certain thing about his
Right.
playing.
Right.
It's cool. So although maybe not an Eddie Van Halen, I
And
think
not many people are. In fact, maybe nobody is.
yeah, there was only one. I think even Bruce would say that. You
Absolutely.
know? But certainly, you know, I always could identify Bruce's playing. He just had a certain style about his playing that I really liked.
So it's funny talking about his playing and the first time you came to know who he was, right? So I actually saw Bruce in concert and didn't know I was seeing Bruce in concert. Right? And I'm going to show you something in a minute because I think it's both hilarious on a few different angles, right? So
Right.
I had seen the Analyze tour, Nassau Coliseum, late November '84. And like you said before, no internet, magazines were always a couple of months behind on stuff. I had no clue. I knew Mark St. John was in the band, but I had no clue that Bruce had been playing with Kiss from September 30th through October into November, with the exception of 2.5 shows, right? It was Bruce. And I had no idea. And as was always the case with me, you know, I had the bootleg machine with me, right? So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I want you to try, if you can, read side B, and then we'll get a few good laughs out of this for a few reasons. So let me know if you could see that.
Right, lower it. Mark St. John solo.
Yeah.
Historically accurate.
Historically accurate. I like the way your eye just went right in on that. You didn't even have to read anything. So now the funny thing to me about that is, first off, there was absolutely no guitar solo, period. Okay? That was, if you read my cassette, it says Eric Carr solo, Young and Wasted, Gene Simmons solo, and then it goes right from Gene Simmons solo to Mark St. John solo. So somewhere in my 13, 14-year-old mind, I thought part of Gene's bass solo was a guitar solo. Okay, don't know why. Okay.
So was it a thing where towards the end of Gene's solo, I almost said Mark, Bruce started playing with him? Or no?
No. I think it's just that Gene's like doing like whatever runs he's doing on the bass right before he starts.
You heard distortion on the bass, and you thought it was a guitar. You know.
And I was sitting on the floor. I was in like the 50th row on the floor, so I saw pretty much the middle of the stage up. I don't even know if I saw heads of Kiss members, right? So I had no idea who was on the stage that night. Although I was in my glory, it didn't matter. I was seeing Kiss. I was at a concert, but I went home thinking I saw Mark St. John. And what's the date on this? November 25th, 1984, right? So I went home, I wrote the songs, and Mark St. John solo. Okay.
But why did it say 83 on there? I thought I saw an 83 on the second.
No, it says 84, 85 World Tour.
No. Well, go in the back. I thought I saw it at 83 there.
Oh, okay. No, okay. What you see there is, if you remember the old cassette decks, if you wanted to know where the song started and you had the counter.
You see how I got a sharp eye.
Yes, you do.
Because when you're saying that, I'm like, I hope he has the right tape.
No, that's the right tape.
Yeah.
So what that meant is, because, just flip the tape over and start side B, I wouldn't rewind. So the Eric Carr drum solo started at tape counter mark 83.
Oh.
So because it wasn't at the beginning of the tape, right? So a lot of useless information that people really don't need to know about my tape.
No, but what it just tells me, you were ahead of your time of knowing how to operate a cassette deck. but you were behind the time of knowing who was actually on the stage.
I had no freaking clue that it was
Yeah,
Bruce Kulick.
right. And they didn't do like Bruce Kulick on lead guitar.
Nope,
They
nope.
didn't play that.
I've listened to this tape a couple of hundred times over the years, and there's no mention at all about who the guitar player was. Now, as we come to learn in years later, Bruce actually signed the contract to be in Kiss like a week and a half later after the show, right? So it wasn't even that. In fact, and the sad part, if you will, is the night before, I think it was in Binghamton, Mark St. John played the show, the full show. So I missed seeing a historic Kiss show by one night.
Yeah.
Right? But I did see one of the first and early Bruce Kulick shows in America, which was pretty cool, except I had no idea I was seeing that. So it's kind of funny. So.
But it's still cool to know that. It's like a buddy of mine who went to the Palladium show in 1980 and had no idea. Yeah, had no idea. That's actually my drum teacher. He went there thinking he's going to see Peter Criss, had no idea Peter was out of the band. And from moment one, he sees this drum set, he sees double bass. He's like, what is this? And he's a drummer.
Right.
And as soon as he started playing, he's like, wait a second, this is not the same guy. You know? So that must have totally blown his mind. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know? So.
Yeah. No, I think for me that's actually pretty funny. I just assumed everybody who was at that Palladium show knew that it was Eric Carr's first show.
No, he had no idea.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me it must have been probably sometime December, January time period where I probably got like a Circus magazine or a Hit Parader, and I saw Bruce Kulick, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess Bruce is in the band. But I don't even remember where I learned that I'd actually seen Bruce and not Mark. I don't know at what point I realized my cassette was wrong. So it's a very weird time for Kiss at that time period.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But so when was the first time you saw Bruce in concert? Do you remember? Was it the Asylum tour?
Yeah. It was the Asylum tour. I guess that was April of '86, I want to say.
Yep.
About right. You were
at the Meadowlands, right?
Yeah.
So, that was like towards the end of the tour, I think.
So that I had Asylum when it first came out. So I knew what songs that he co-wrote, and obviously we knew the hits, even though Kiss never really hits.
Right.
But at that time they were getting some decent MTV play. As far as I can remember. But that was the first time knowing Bruce and hearing Bruce live. They're purchasing the Asylum record.
Yeah. It's funny for me. I don't know why lately I have this thing where I'm going back to the Asylum tour. I have no idea why. The album's not one of my favorites. There's some great songs on there, and then there's some clunkers, and mostly the clunkers, in my opinion, are the Gene songs, right? But I think it was last weekend, I was sitting on my couch streaming from YouTube, watching on TV, the Madison Square Garden show that I was at in 1985, December of 85. And it was really cool, like the huge logo and the yellow stairs on the side. And it's so over the top. I know that, but it's so 80s. It's so 80s. And there's something about that time period that I find myself gravitating towards lately for some reason.
Yeah, you and me both. You know, I'm definitely like retro man, you know.
Yeah. You really?
My music or watching my television, you know. Yeah, I did that when I first saw that Kiss logo. I was like, wow. It's like, this is incredible. And yeah, you know, they had that glam, and Gene look, you know, he looked like that transvestite he played in that movie, you know, and actually maybe one level higher, you know, as far as like
pretty much that's
but that was, you know, everybody was doing that at the time. So you can't fault Kiss for that.
No.
I know a lot of people hate the album cover too. I think it's kind of cool in a ways, you know, because I mean, the thing that, whether you like it or hate it, that album stands out cover-wise from everything else they did, which is kind of cool in my respect, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, as cool as people, it's cool to do like another Love Gun, another Destroyer. It's like, let there be one. You know, that's like how we always say, we always kind of hate it when Kiss is like, this is the best album I think that since Destroyer. It's always like, come on, you know, like, say it's the best Kiss album you did since Gene Simmons' solo album or something like that. Just change it up a little bit, you know. But yeah, listen, for me, that was my first Kiss show, and you know, again, we still try to figure out why we weren't at the show together, because we had a mutual friend who I went with. It's one of those weird things I guess that puzzle will forever be, you know, unfigured out. And
But what's odd also, I wasn't with you at that, but you weren't with me because I was at the Garden Show in December of '85, and you weren't with me at that.
So the only thing, and we've tried to figure this out of when we started to rekindle our friendship, because there was a couple of years hiatus when we started going to different schools and stuff like that. It could have been during that transition period, you know. Maybe. I know by '86 we were definitely like full in, but April to December you would think, but whenever I got that set of drums, and I remember you giving me that phone call, you know, that's kind of, it was like nonstop for 3 years that we were together, you know.
Yeah. But I do think we were talking at that time, because if I remember right, you went with the guy Rob that we both knew, right? You were much more friends with him.
Robs I went with.
2 Robs, that's right, 2 Robs.
Yeah. Got robbed.
You got robbed. Okay. But I remember one of the Robs was very excited because they did Whole Lot of Love, if I remember right, that night, right?
Yes.
Right. So, and I remember you telling me about that like a few days after. So, you know, that's, to me, just who knows why we weren't together, right? But I think
it was the Cult that opened for them. Who opened when you went?
Black and Blue.
Oh,
Tommy Thay's band.
Voice, the Cult. Yes, it was the Blue Tour.
It was the Blue Tour. Oh man, no, but to me, one of the things I remember about that show, when I was so excited when Bruce, I have to give him props for posting this a few days ago, or about a week ago now. He posted like a soundboard recording of "Won't Get Fooled Again," and I always loved the way they did that on that tour. And they took those keyboard parts, they did it on the guitar, and I love the way it sounded, and I just remembered that from the Garden Show. And Bruce, I don't know, I doubt you're ever going to watch this, but if you're watching it, thank you for posting that soundboard. That was awesome, absolutely awesome.
Bruce will watch it. Bruce will watch. You're Mike Brunt, damn it, come on.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. Oh man, so you mentioned the album cover before, and to me, the '80s had some interesting album covers, right? So it's funny, just sticking with Asylum for one more moment. I remember when the album came out, the cover I was not a fan of, but again, I look at it, and to your point, I'm like, I like this. It kind of fits the time period so well. But with all the '80s album covers, is there any that stick out for you, maybe besides Asylum, since we already spoke about that?
For Kiss in general?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Crazy Nights is an awesome album cover.
Agreed. Yeah.
With the shattered glass and stuff like that. I always thought like speaking of Bruce, when they redid, Creatures of the Night is one of the great Kiss album covers, Kiss in makeup for the last time, right? Yeah, I got that right.
Yes.
And then like this really cool picture of Kiss with Bruce, and they recently, I don't know where I saw it, they had some pictures from that photo shoot. You must have seen them, and there's some really, really cool shots, like some individual shots and stuff like that. I forgot the photographer, probably Neil Zlowski, whatever the guy's name is.
Exactly.
I think the shoot. Lowe's, that's lacking. I'm not going to say his name. Put in the comments below how to pronounce it. But yeah, I thought those album covers were. I think actually Animalize is one of the worst, because it's really, Lick It Up was an awesome cover, see them for the first time, Gene with the tongue out, it's a great shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we're just talking about Kiss, those are the ones that stand out in mind. What about you?
No, to me, if we're sticking with Kiss in the Bruce era, the Crazy Nights album cover, in my opinion, is one of the best Kiss covers. And again, I'll take away the classics, Love Gun, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, right? Those 3 are the classic album covers to me.
Right.
Crazy Nights, I might put 4th. I know people are going to think I'm nuts.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a great cover.
But it's really a great freaking cover. I love that cover.
Well, you know what it is, too, about that? Kiss at that time, think about Asylum and then think about Creatures of the Night. If you just look at the cover, they look cool. They weren't overdone, makeup-wise. I know the female fans are going to disagree with me. I didn't have to see Paul with half his pants open, showing his underwear with the thumb in there. But
I'm talking front cover, not back cover.
Okay, I'm just talking about the pictures. Even though I think the back pictures are really cool.
Yeah,
the 4 of them. I think just an awesome cover, front and back.
And I don't want to leave out the photo that's inside, like on the jacket and then the sleeve rather, that the album goes in. I think that's a great black and white photo in there also.
Yeah. That the whole package was awesome. Yeah. I read somewhere recently that, and this stuff historically. Oh, I think it was that book, the Crazy Nights book,
Mm-hmm.
that's Julian Gill did.
Yep.
That was considered not disappointment, a failure. That album, like
Yep.
they expected it to be bigger, even though there's always the story that Crazy Nights was pretty big in Europe,
Europe. Yep. Mm-hmm.
and one of Brian May's favorite songs, that which is kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah. I think
was the
Crazy
whole,
Crazy Nights, that and God Gave Rock and Roll to You are the two biggest hits in England for Kiss.
yeah.
So go figure, right?
But I got to say again, if we're just fast forwarding a little bit, when I remember the anticipation we had, and I know we told the story about, you getting the record before me, you sneaky. Still haven't forgiven you for that one.
It's only 32 years.
But getting how there was all that build up to that record, and we've talked about this before, and we were so excited to get it and listen to every song, and I love that record. I mean, I listened to that when I made a tape of it on going back and forth to work a zillion times.
You're talking Crazy Nights for anybody who doesn't know our backstory. Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought I said that, but
you might have. Maybe it's just a old age moment.
Yeah, and connecting to Bruce, as most of us had boom boxes in the 80s, I remember specifically putting the intro of No 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 on my radio and walking around my block, annoying people. Not annoying because but and like blasting it, and then when Eric comes in and that whole thing, I thought it was the coolest thing. I'm like, listen what Kiss is doing.
Yeah.
It's like they got Eddie Van Halen in the band, because the thing is, like, with your heroes, you always wanted your band to be competitive with the other bands, and that was certainly a moment for Bruce to shine. And I think we have differences of opinions, or maybe we have the same opinion of the song itself. But that, as far as intro and like hearing something different on a Kiss record, I thought that was totally awesome. Was that after Bang Bang You?
Yes, it was the fourth song. I think it was right after
right.
Right? It was Crazy Nights, I Fight Hell to Hell You, Bang Bang You, and then No No No.
Thank God, because that intro just was what we needed to decimate Bang Bang You. Because from day one, I never liked that song.
Yeah.
So,
well,
anyways.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because I actually do like that song, right? Maybe even more than you do, right? I just wish the production...
Oh, No No No?
Yeah, I like No No No, yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm thinking? I'm getting confused with Boomerang. That's what I'm getting confused with.
Boomerang is a train wreck.
Yeah.
It's not even a song. I don't know what that is. It's a bunch of random notes put together 4 minutes, right? But I like No No No. I wish it was produced better, and I think we spoke about this on our Crazy Nights episode, right? Where I said, I wish they had like a Ted Templeton or something like that producing this record instead. But I like the song. I like the whole guitar intro. I think it's great. I think to your point, it's one of Bruce's shining moments on the album, and maybe even across his entire tenure with Kiss. I love that intro.
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
And I'm not going to go back into the whole debate about the sound of the record, because I covered that. And for those who haven't heard that conversation, go back and watch our was the Crazy Nights review we did.
Yeah, we did like a look back on Crazy Nights. I'll put it in the link if you're watching on YouTube.
I was just going to say, put it in the link.
I'll put on the link below this, so if anybody wants to watch that, go back and watch it. Yeah. And
I know, and you're much better than I am, but he did co-write "Good Girl Gone Bad," or is this Stump the Brun?
Yeah, I think so.
What's the song he co-wrote? I feel it's side one, like third song-ish. No, because that's... Let me think about that, because you said it's... I'll Fight Hell to Holy. No,
wasn't it Hella High Water that he has a co-write on?
Was it Hella High Water?
Yeah, you got all the computers all around you. What, do you got 75 computers sitting around you? You could Google it. You could Google it.
I just remember, like, when we listened to that record and
I'll look it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, look it up. Hearing Gene kind of not singing his Gene voice for that record.
Right.
Like, wow, Gene's not... And we would go to the next song, and it's like he's singing in his, like, sweet Gene voice,
right, absolutely,
we're like really surprised. It's like that wole record, he never goes into that, He doesn't
go into Cookie Monster mode.
Yeah, right, yeah.
All right, let's see. Crazy Nights. Oh, I got the single here.
I'm doing the Jeopardy music for you.
All right, thank you. All right, let's see. Now, people are watching this saying, "You jerks, this is the songs that he co-wrote." But usually I notice stuff, like you said, off the top of my head.
So I'm stunned.
Yeah, so all right, so he has a co-write on "I'll Fight Hell to Hold You." He has a co-write on No No No. He has a co-write on Hella High Water. So, and then let's see.
Did he have a co-write on Trial by Fire?
You're going on a different album now. Hold on. Hold your horses. Hold your freaking horses. Let's see.
Every one of those songs you just mentioned, I like.
Which one? Hella High Water?
All of the ones you just said.
Okay, yeah. When Your Walls Come Down, I happen to like that one. He co-wrote that. When Your Walls Come Down, I just hate the Hey Kitty Kitty. But yeah, besides that. So, yeah, he had a bunch of co-writes on the Crazy Nights album. So,
that's kind of what I was getting at, because I know he had a bunch of co-writes on the record.
Yep. On Asylum, it is Trial by Fire. You are correct. And then I'm Alive as well. So, yeah. So, it's funny, kind of moving off the songwriting for a moment. I actually watched, for the first time in easily 20 years, I watched the Animalize Uncensored Live, whatever it was called, video concert. Yeah. And if you remember when Bruce joined the band, you remember what his nickname was? Spruce Kulick. No. Spruce, because he stood there like a tree, they said, right? Yeah. So, and I don't know, maybe it's because I'm used to seeing all these bands that are in their 60s and 70s now. I didn't see that. Now, what I did see was friggin' Paul Stanley was like a nut doing all these splits and spinning around.
Oh, that's why if you're comparing it to Paul,
and that's my point,
hamming it up for the camera like every 3 seconds.
And that is my point, right? So, did he get the kind of a bad rap? Yes, of course, he was the one holding down the fort musically for the band while Paul was doing all of that stuff. But, while he's performing, he's running up the ramps, he's doing background vocals, then he's coming back to the bottom, and he's moving over. He was moving around. Yeah. I'm like, there's no spruce here to me. No spruce.
Yeah. And the thing that kind of annoyed me, and again, I know why they did it. Like, I remember even watching it at the time, and, like, every time he would go to solo, you had to see, like, Paul, like, shaking his ass. I'm like, can't they just show him playing the whole guitar solo? We see Paul shaking his ass enough.
Right.
Don't play the whole. Give him the man respect. I want to see what the heck he's doing on that guitar.
Yep.
But I understand they would go to Gene, they would go to Paul, they would go to Bruce. And because it is the Gene and Paul band.
Absolutely. So, although nothing could be worse than those Crazy Night videos that had 2 seconds of Eric Carr, maybe a second and a half of Bruce. I remember you and I used to be annoyed about that. Even at that time, it annoyed us.
Yeah. Gene up with the bass playing like this every second. Like, all right, get the other guys did. Come on. And we were both huge fans of Eric Carr, so that's why we were even more pissed. It's like, I know the drummer's in the back. Feature him a little bit more. Come on.
Absolutely. And to me, that was surprising at that time period, especially because the Asylum videos, Bruce's first album, he was featured. I remember when I think of Tears Are Falling and the whole solo part, which I think does a great solo on that song. He's definitely featured in the video, but the Crazy Nights videos, they just kind of moved away from that for whatever reason. But,
who knows? Yeah.
Now, I know that I more this than you, right? I always followed whenever anybody left Kiss, I bought a lot of their solo albums, whether it was Paul and Gene's, whether it was Vinnie Vincent, whether it was Ace Frehley. I know you dabbled in some of them, but I don't think that you dabbled as much, especially going into the 2000s with some of those solo albums, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so
I remember you telling me about the Union stuff, and some of the stuff he did. He did the what else did he do? It was most of the Union band was after when Kiss did their farewell tour or whatever, or what they call the first tour. It wasn't the farewell tour. That was the
reunion tour.
Reunion tour, right? Their reunion tour. Right. And then he had the Union project, and then he put out. I know I have one of his solo records. Was there more than one?
Yeah, he actually has 3. And I'm gonna say for me, his first one, Audio Dog, is, I feel, incredible. I love the songs on that. Bruce sings. There's a few instrumentals, but Bruce sings all the songs on that, as opposed to BK3. He had some guest vocalists. The songs on that are just solid to the point that I will say it might be one of the top 3 Kiss solo albums, excluding the 78s, right? One of the top 3 Kiss solo albums that any member ever put out. That's how much I like it. And if anybody watching this, if you haven't listened to it, I suggest going back and listen to the entire Bruce Kulick solo catalog. Yeah. There's a bunch of good things. But for me, that first solo album, there's songs like Please Don't Wait for My Heart, I Don't Mind, Change Is Coming, Need Me. They're all excellent songs. There's a little bit of a heaviness to almost like, I'll say, a Carnival of Souls light, if you will, right? But it's heavy, but it's not quite grunge. and there's some melodic stuff in there. There's just, I know, like I said, I was really into it. You kind of veered away from that type of stuff, but I would suggest you and everybody else watching this, give that album a free. It's a good album.
I think you might have told me that in the past. I don't remember you saying about that particular thing, but I'm definitely going to check it out now that you said it. Was that ever out on vinyl? Because you know me, I have to have everything on vinyl.
That's a good question. I don't think so. It's a very good. I think only BK3 is available on vinyl.
Which I have, right?
Yeah, I know that's available on vinyl. Red vinyl, I know that's on. I don't think the first two are on vinyl, but yeah. Check it out online, CD, stream, however you want to listen to it. Please Don't Wait was the title that I was mixing up in my mind before, but I think it's just an excellent song. The whole CD is really, there's not a bad song on it. Even the instrumentals, and I'm not a huge instrumental guy, the instrumentals have like good catches and good hooks to it. It's really top notch. I'm saying top 3, and I'm trying to think of what Kiss solo album I would put ahead of that. Again, excluding the 78s. And it's tough for me to think of one. That's how much I love that solo album. In fact, I've said I wish Bruce would do some of those songs when he played on the cruise or something like that, because I just think even if he only did 1 or 2, I think it might open up some fans' minds. Hey, that sounded really good. Where's that from? I should go check that out. Right?
Right.
I get why Bruce focuses on the Kiss stuff.
Yeah.
And the fans eat it up. Right? We love it. Right? But I do wish he would do one of those songs on the cruise. Maybe next year for me. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So let's talk about those cruise shows for a moment, right? So you were on the cruise last year, right? And to me, I think when we watched those shows, we were like, these are some of probably the highlight of the cruise, his shows, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the biggest takeaway from those shows were the songs that we thought weren't good in the Kiss catalog. That when Bruce's band did them, like, man, Burn Bitch Burn, this song is great.
Right.
I'm loving this, And I think part of that is, as Kiss fans, we're starving to hear, not to hear, as much as we love hearing Love Gun and I Was Made for Loving You and Cold Gin and War Machine and those, even when you hear some of the lesser songs, even if it's not Kiss, you're like, oh, it's like never hearing them live, it's just it's so cool to hear them,
Yeah.
So. Yeah. And plus, he has a great band. That helps.
Absolutely.
It's all about presentation, and the presentation is only as good as the bands and the players he has. And,
absolutely.
He's got a great band.
Absolutely. And I know when I spoke with Bruce earlier this year, he did say that they were going to be working on material for an album. So for me, fingers crossed, I think that would be great if that band, the 4 of them, could put together an album. I think that would be great.
Well, the one great thing about Bruce, especially this year, with the whole pandemic situation, he's been really, really good about putting stuff out and giving the Kiss fans little nuggets and, talking about, and he was doing this years ago on his page, like giving breakdowns of records and, and these were great reads, and me, I love that stuff. I want to know what's going on behind the scenes. And I was like, wow, I wish all the guys did this kind of stuff. But he's been really forthcoming with information and showing what guitars he played. And this is the guitar I played on this tour, and this is my favorite guitar, and I played bass on this tune. And that's another thing that we shouldn't forget. And I was going to go to it before you switched to the cruise thing, saying about the Carnival of Souls. I know that deep in Bruce's heart, he has, it's very fond to him, that record, as it is to me. I know we've deferred on that. And I love that record, and I feel like that's a kind of a Bruce record, because when I hear a lot of it, I said that had to come from Bruce, especially a lot of the guitar stuff, and him playing bass on a lot of those tracks and stuff like that. I love that record for being the anti-Kiss record, because it's just so different. And I think Bruce definitely should be really, really proud of that record. Yeah. So, and his playing is great on it.
And you're spot on. I think he co-wrote like 9 of the 11 songs on that album, something like that. So his fingerprints all over that album. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And
it's got I guess he understands business, whatever. For Gene and Paul to be like, yeah, there's Carnival Souls. Yeah, it's like if they don't ever give you anything about how other than it's a mistake. It's kind of like The Elder, and I don't feel that way about The Elder either.
Right, right.
Like two records that Kiss hate, I happen to love.
Right.
So,
Right.
and I think a lot of fans. I'm not in the
No,
the only, but I think
right.
I think The Elder's aged very well. I think a lot of people was like, oh, that Elder's crap, But now, if you're on a Kiss cruise if Paul starts doing Just a Boy, people are going to start, crapping in their pants.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm going to totally derail us for 30 seconds here. I was just reading something recently, I think it was a few years ago, where Ace Frehley actually said he thought The Elder was a very good album, just the wrong album for Kiss at that time. And I was surprised to hear him say that. I figured he'd be like, oh, that album sucks. They took all my solos off of it. But he was like, no, it's actually a good album. I just don't think it's the album Kiss should have made. And at that point, they should have made Creatures when they made The Elder. So.
Well, very quickly. I mean, you think of what Unmasked was, right? And then you think of The Elder. Again, it's not that easy to do that.
Right.
It's not that easy to a band that's a certain way to kind of reinvent them. And now, look, Bob Ezrin has a lot to do with that. He's like a master puppeteer. We see what he did with Them and Destroyer, which ironically they thought that was like they had to get back to their roots because that album was a failure, in a way. Bring Eddie Kramer back, which is never a mistake, by the way.
Right.
But that's just, it's funny that the record that they said this is our best record never since Rock and Roll Over, since Destroyer was the record that they were trying to redeem themselves afterwards. So
absolutely,
it's kind of funny. But yeah.
So you mentioned before Bruce's guitars, so I wanted to make sure we touch on that. Right, to me, that's one of the things that I took for granted in the 80s, but I look back now and I'm not a guitar player. I've got a few hanging on the wall, but I don't play them. Everybody knows that, right? You actually play the ones that you have.
Me look at.
Yeah, you play the ones that you have there, but he actually, as I look back on it, he had a bunch of really cool looking guitars, right? The Radiation one, he had the Yellow Banana, he calls it, the one that was like from the Who Wants to Be Lonely, like the rainbow swirl thing. There's a bunch of really.
That's I think it might one of my. No, that's maybe my favorite.
That's what I was going to ask you. Which one's your favorite? Yeah.
Well, I mean, never having this in my life, and probably never will. To have a manufacturer is going to say, we're going to make you what you want. What color you want, what do you want the design to be? That's got to be like an awesome thing to like have, whether it's your signature model. I don't think ESP ever did like a Bruce Kulick signature model. I could be wrong about that, but certainly he's had a long lasting relationship with ESP guitars. And I remember not knowing really what ESP guitars were until I was on 48th Street in Manhattan, when that was like Music Row. And it was 48th Street Custom Guitars, and I would go in there, and you would see, because typically you wouldn't see that in like Manny's or Sam Ash. It was more a boutique brand. But I was like, when I would go in there, I was like, that's the guitars that Bruce Kulick used, and like that's how I knew Kramer was like Eddie Van Halen was the Kramer guy, even though Richie Sambora was using them, and everybody was using Kramer. But like I always connected ESP and Bruce Kulick because it was kind of cool, So
Absolutely. And to me, the cool thing is Bruce, over the last couple of years, has been doing reissues of those guitars. I don't even know if you're aware of that, right? So, he's been selling very limited to like 20 or 50 of them only, so.
I would see that, like, and it would be that swirl, whatever they, does he have a name for that one?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I don't know. I call it a rainbow swirl, but I'm sure it's not the real name of it.
Probably not. Sorry, Bruce,
Again, I'm not a guitar player, but I just think it looks cool as all hell. And I'm hearing rumors that he might re-release one of them. It might be the Rainbow one in 2021, and there might be enough. So I'm surprised you never jumped in now, especially now that you're a millionaire. So
I am a millionaire. I don't just play one on TV.
That's right.
Well,
Thurston
who knows?
Howard the third.
It's Howell, but okay.
That's right. Howell, sorry. You're
right. Just like you said, I think you said before, Ted Templeton.
Oh, did
Templeton. I? Yeah. However, you massacred his name too. But
hold on. So let's back up. We are talking about Kiss in the 80s, and in the 80s I butchered everybody's name, so I'm right on topic, really.
He's the man that thought it was Rudy Sarzo. I said Sarzo. I don't know. You used to put extra letters in people's names.
Absolutely. I'm like the butcher. I butcher everybody's name.
Yeah.
Just wait until the next time I have you on, I butcher yours.
Yeah, well, I'm waiting for that.
Yeah.
Probably well deserved.
So, one other thing I wanted to just bring up, I guess, we're talking about Bruce, obviously, and we know he had a little bit of a rough year earlier this year. His brother passed, unfortunately, but, I want to just kind of acknowledge what he's been doing online for the past, whatever it is, 6 months, which I think is actually really, really cool. I actually love and look forward to Bob Hat Tuesdays, right? I think they're hilarious. I'm always like, what picture is going to come up this week? So, I know it was a rough year for Bruce and all that was going on with his brother and his brother's passing. But out of that, again, if Bruce is watching this, I want to say thanks, because those are great. I love that. And it's a great way to keep his brother's legacy alive. But it's also a lot of fun seeing those posts every week.
And look, one of my greatest musical memories is one that we were at, in Indianapolis. And Bob, Bruce, and Ace on the same stage, and we were front row.
Yep. Absolutely.
I was like, I can't fucking believe it.
Absolutely.
Bob was right here, I just remember. And that was incredible because, again, they were playing some of the songs we would never hear, and just having them two together. And I know you had seen them on the cruise together, right? Was it a cruise show, or was it a pre-cruise show?
No, it was on the cruise.
A cruise show, right?
It was on the cruise, but in Indy they did pretty much a cruise show again. But then, like you said, Ace came up on stage with Bob and Bruce and Ace, and I think Eric Singer was playing with them, if I remember right, also. Yeah. And that was just really freaking cool, seeing all of them on stage together.
And I remember saying to you, like, I was so bummed that I didn't see him on the cruise. Now I feel like I'm redeemed. I saw it here. I'm not upset, about not seeing them on the cruise. Like I didn't go to see Peter Criss at his last show. I'm waiting. I'm beating you to the punch on that.
There you go. You take the wind out of my sails.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great.
So I'm glad you brought that particular thing up about Bruce and his brother, and I'm so happy that I got that opportunity to see them together on the same stage. And
absolutely.
I think he posted recently about, might have been some of your footage, I want to say, that he was saying this is one of the best moments of his life, being on the stage with his brother at the and just seeing how happy his brother was.
Yeah, over the years he's actually shared my videos from the cruise a couple of times, and I know he's said in recent interviews that show on the cruise was probably the highlight of his performing career, with doing that with his brother. So and it was a great show, and the indie show was great also. But I remember that the first time they played together was absolutely incredible. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And let's not also forget that we're talking all about Bruce and his guitar playing, but he also played keys.
Yes, that's true.
He was Reason to Live. Remember, he would be at the keyboard. Remember?
Yep, absolutely.
I don't know if he did any other keys. Maybe that was it.
That was it.
That was it. Crazy Nights tour. There was really no keyboards that were obviously needed, I don't think.
No, they had Gary Corbett behind the curtain.
That's right. They had, Gary Corbett. That's right.
Well, should I just butcher that name also just for fun?
Yeah. Now, well, considering you interviewed him, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, so I should get that one right. Just like when I interviewed Rudy Sarzo, I made sure I got his name right. Although you had me scared to death. You had me scared to death I was going to mispronounce it. So, but I'm infamous for that.
I beat you up enough over the years. I think you got it ingrained in your head.
I think so. And
the other thing too, talking about Bruce, remember how excited we would see like him with the BK shirt? Like, look at Bruce with the BK shirt.
BK shirt. Simon. Yep.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Absolutely.
Kind of like, because you got Paul Stanley, you got Gene Simmons. Like, he put like his own little thing there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm BK, damn it.
That's right.
Hear me more.
That's right. So I assume you like that shirt better than the radiation suit?
I thought the radiation suit was cool.
Okay.
I did, because he had the guitar to match it. Right?
He did, yes. He did.
Was that a white suit? Was it white with the black?
White. Yep. Exactly what it was. Yep.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, no, me neither. I actually think, again, it's so symbolic of that time.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, a buddy of mine actually had that jacket, the original. And
really?
And I believe just sold it back to Bruce. So I think that's back in Bruce's collection now.
I think I know who the buddy is, but...
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not going to say because I don't know if he wanted it out there, but yeah. So I think that's kind of cool. Before we wrap this up, because I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. We talk about all the Kiss years, and I think that's near and dear to Bruce's heart. And I love that he carries the torch for the non-makeup years, right? So I love that. But, for the last, what is it now, 20 something years, I think he's been playing in Grand Funk, and that's, probably his longest running gig of his career. And, to not mention that, and the fact that he, left Kiss, did a few things on his own, but then fell into a very stable, position here in Grand Funk for a couple of decades now, is another testament to, obviously, his work ethic and what he is like to work in a band situation, and him knowing his place and knowing what he brings to the table, knowing how he should fit into those kind of things. I think just says a lot about him as a person.
Absolutely. And for those Kiss fans who are not Grand Funk fans, and maybe not purposely, you really should go listen to Grand Funk's early stuff. People don't realize at one time Grand Funk Railroad was like the biggest band in the world. Mm-hmm. That's how big Grand Funk Railroad was. And what a great band it was. And I know he wasn't in the original, but I'm trying to give, as I always try to do with maybe artists, that somewhat get forgotten, or bands that somewhat get forgotten. I'm not saying they have, but let's face the fact, you mentioned Kiss, you mentioned Grand, you know what I mean? It's like Kiss is always in the news. Grand Funk is not so much, it's, but you should go back and listen to those records, and/or if we ever have touring again, is going to be playing with them. Like we always say, we don't know how long these bands are going to be touring.
Absolutely.
You should go and take advantage of, especially the bands that like set a lot of the foundation of the music that, we came to know and love growing up.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So Bruce's birthday, 67 years old. Happy birthday to Bruce. Anything else, Bruce Kulick, you want to bring up or mention before we wrap this one up?
It's a good question. Well, I think the one thing is I would love if Kiss is going to be touring again, and like I said, there's some sense of normalcy out there, to see him on the big stage again, playing with them. We did, again, we didn't mention this when we went on the last cruise. During their it wasn't the Sail Away show, because they called it, what'd they call it?
It was in the rounds, right? It was like an acoustic show in the rounds. Yep.
I think he was supposed to come up maybe for a couple songs, and he wound up doing like 8 songs with them, or I don't remember. It was a lot, and some
he played
of them
half the show with them.
Right. Some of them, I think he said, he goes, I hadn't even gone over any stuff. I was like on the spot trying to, and I think he like said to Tommy, please, like, give me your easiest playing acoustic to make it a little easier for it, because everybody's got different, gauge strings or whatever. And so, I mean, we did get a taste of that, certainly. And that was kind of awesome seeing Bruce playing with them.
Yes. Yeah.
And, I just hope he... Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the acoustic show, because, to me, one of the best Kiss live albums, and I'm including all of the live albums right now, Kiss Live is number 1. For me, MTV Unplugged might be number 2.
Oh,
in terms of live albums. And, to me, part of it is Bruce shines on that. I love the way he plays songs like Sure Know Something, I think is incredible. And just that whole album is just, to me, absolutely phenomenal. I know it's like pretty much the end of the non-makeup era, pretty much, was that performance. Yeah. But if that's the way the non-makeup era was going to end, to me, you couldn't end any better than that. It's an incredible, incredible CZ to me.
And you know what, the thing, let's just talk about Bruce's character before we sign this up, because, Bruce seems to be, from everything I could see, like one of the most humble guys. And you picture yourself on a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade skies. I'm sorry, I'm going for people's songs and feel there. So picture yourself, you're in one of the biggest bands in the world, right? Okay, so all right, they come out with Revenge. Revenge is a successful record, right? We want to say it's a successful record, for the most part. But remember when it was coming out?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so now, they have this Carnival Souls thing that when they start recording around 94, was that about?
Yeah, right around there, yep.
And they were doing these, what were those tours they were doing? These convention tours, right?
Convention tour, yep.
They were having a great time doing that stuff, right? And then, they had this MTV Unplugged thing. They had to see the writing on the wall, right? Right. And then, understandably, they know, all right, they're bringing the original guys back. That's the reason why we're not in it. But then all of a sudden, you're in this family for 10 years, and now you're not out on those stages. And now you hear Kiss is playing Tiger Seed, Kiss is playing, and understandably, because they got the 2 original members back and they could sell that. But to not have any resentment towards anybody, and to be in the loop with Gene and Paul, now for all these years, and never have a bad word to say about anybody, to me, and Eric experienced some of that too, although then he wound up back.
Right.
But I just think, Bruce's character in that respect, even though he said, he could never picture himself putting on like Ace's makeup and stuff like that, I would have to think there has to be one time in his existence that he would, oh man, I wonder what that would be like to be on the stage doing this now. It's just a natural thing for anybody. Although he may not have been comfortable, that's not his bag. But you're in Kiss, and now you're in Grand Funk Railroad. And again, I'm not trying to put Grand Funk down at all. It's not my point. But for Bruce has always been still waving the Kiss flag for all these years, especially for the non-makeup years. I think that shows, a tremendous amount of character on his part. And I totally respect the man for that,
Absolutely. And I want to add to what you're saying, he could have resentment towards Tommy Thayer, right? And you mentioned before how the 2 of them were like talking on the cruise and, hey, give me your best guitar to play here, whatever. He has been very complimentary of Tommy. He could be sitting there saying, hold on, that band that's on that stage right now is 3/4 of the Revenge and Carnival of Souls lineup, and the only one missing is me. And he can have resentment, but he doesn't. He embraces Tommy. He, like you said, embraces the non-makeup era. I love that he waves the flag for that. In a lot of ways, I love that Bruce never came in makeup, because it makes him symbolic of those non-makeup years, which quite honestly is what I grew up with. I know I became a fan in '76, but my teenage years was the non-makeup years. So it says a lot about his character, like you said, though. It really does.
And lastly, when we saw them together, when was the Indianapolis convention where Paul was signing his book that we went to? What year?
2016, I think. 15 or 16, but I want to say it's 16. Right. 15. Right.
And I remember when you got that guitar signed right in back of you.
Yep, the Tommy Thayer. That's right. And it was Bruce and Tommy were there together. And
I remember being there. I felt a little awkward, like thinking like, there's Tommy, there's Bruce. I wonder what, because I didn't know, honestly. Right. This is really before like Instagram and Facebook was really like what it is now, where guys are constantly, putting stuff out there and stuff like that. And I remember them talking off on the side, and seeing that. And we took pictures with them both and stuff like that. And, again, Tommy's one of the greatest guys, another one who's like a lot like Bruce, like doesn't say a bad thing. Right. If somebody says a bad thing about him, he's kind of like, he just deflects it off,
Right. Yep, absolutely.
So, but I remember that, I was curious of what that dynamic was going to, because I was thinking what you kind of were talking about. I was like, is he looking at this guy saying, man, this the guy is on that stage, you know what I mean? But you couldn't see, they were talking like, it was really cool. So,
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I even think they might have hung out together prior to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame introduction.
Oh, really?
Induction. Yeah, so I think they've been certainly in social gatherings together with the bands a number of times. So, again, it says a lot about both of them, but a lot about Bruce, because he's not there today.
Well, look, and he also knows Tommy from when he was doing all that work with Kiss when he was in the band, when Bruce was in the band, right? Because doesn't that date back to like 92 or stuff like that? That Tommy was doing some sort of work for Kiss?
Probably before that, because Tommy has songwriting credits on Hot in the Shade, which is 89.
Right. So he was probably around, but I know he was getting involved in like the whatever DVDs or VHS, whatever. He was involved in a lot of those projects.
Absolutely.
And the anthology, was that what the series?
He was also, Tommy was very involved with the whole Unplugged thing, the acoustic thing, the convention thing that they were doing in 95.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So they had, be friends with that. So, and I'm sure Bruce is going to say, look, if it's going to happen to some guy, I would, I'm happy that it happened with Tommy,
Absolutely. So, all right, buddy. Again, I'm going to close this saying happy birthday to Bruce Kulick. I hope I look half as good as he does and half as young as he is at 67 years old.
Well, one thing I guarantee you, you won't have as much hair as he had. That I can guarantee.
Maybe I'll grow to goatee though. I could do that maybe.
That you could do. Yeah,
Maybe
that
I
you could do.
But I definitely won't have as much hair. That goes without saying.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. This is great. Thanks for joining me
Yeah.
again, and let's hope it's not another 3 months.
Yep. I'm ready to roar.
All righty. Talk to you soon. Thanks everybody for watching.
Take care.
Alrighty, there you have it, our conversation about the great Bruce Kulick. If you guys haven't done so already, I strongly recommend you picking up Bruce's solo albums, Audio Dog, Transformer, and BK3. All 3 of them are excellent, and I think you guys would really enjoy that. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you guys next time.